What if you didn't have to be a marketer to be brilliant at marketing? Hey, you, I'm Sarah Grace, CEO of Victress Global. Look, the world is marketing to women using masculine strategies, and it does not work. Using my unique V2 marketing system, I've been able to help so many entrepreneurs escape slimy, salesy marketing strategies, spend less time at the computer, and grow their businesses in a way that lets them take Fridays off. No joke. So stick around. I'll make sure you know exactly how to tackle marketing in a way that feels awesome. And P.S. Some of these episodes come from live trainings inside my private Facebook group. Search for V2 Marketing on Facebook, and you can join me live every single week. Let's rock and roll. All right. Today is unique. This is not a training, and yet it may be one of the most valuable trainings that you have experienced here as part of V2 Marketing. So we are going to be having our first ever hot seat. And so give me just a couple of seconds to make sure that we get our guest on here ready to go. So the reason that we do hot seats is for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think sometimes you learn more through learning through the eyes of someone else's business than any other kind of learning or training that I could ever offer you. So you start to have epiphanies, you start to connect the dots, or you start to realize that there are more options out there for you. And second, I think it's really, really powerful to know that you're not alone in your questions. And so we had an awesome response for those of you who wanted to be part of the hot seat. And so as part of that, I want to be able to invite you to say, keep applying for that hot seat. If you didn't get picked for this hot seat, we will be doing it once a month, and we will go gangbusters for 30 minutes, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. But today we have Ashley Jaggi, and I hope I'm saying her last name right. She will correct me, I'm sure, once I get her here on the screen. But if you did not get chosen, you don't have to apply to again. We have a running list, and I promise you we are going to do everything in our power to do as many hot seats as we can to get those questions answered. So let me bring Ashley on. Here we go. Welcome to the first hot seat. Isn't it exciting? The amazing Ashley, there she is.
Hi, Sarah. It's so good to be here with you.
Thank you for being brave as part of this first hot seat. It will go down in history for forever as the first ever hot seat. So welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Are you ready to dive in?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first just read the question that you submitted, and then I'm actually going to let you give me some background. And the only barriers today is time. And so like the more focused and succinct you can be in some of the details of what's going on with you, the more I can help you. And second, the most honest you can be about what is happening in your world, good, bad, ugly, great, dumpster fire, you just tell me, because that's the only way I'm able to help you. Nobody is sitting in the hot seat because everything's going great. So you're in great company here. So this is your question. I'm going to read it from my screen. It says, I'd love more direction on starting a founders coaching group. What should I charge as a newbie, and how much time should I be giving them in return? I know I need to treat them really well, but what does that look like exactly? So give me the background of this coaching group. Have you read it before? Have you not? Give me the spell.
So my background is as a mental health therapist, and just with following people and seeing people's journeys, I want to be able to serve more, not do the one-on-one trade. And I love doing therapy, and it's been great. And I don't necessarily want to give that up, but also want to add this. And so I've been working with you in APM, and it's been awesome. And I have a funnel idea that I've been working on, and it is a course that they could take, and then the go bigger is a coaching group, and that will happen 3 times a year in a 12-week deep dive thing. And so I'm brand new to the coaching sphere. I do have some great background to help me do that, but it's still new and new to the whole side of this. And I heard you say recently in a Q&A that they probably aren't going to buy your course if they don't know you and have had a great experience with you. And so I'm thinking of shifting my funnel to start with this founders group coaching and learn from my audience, learn from them what they want, and then eventually add that course that people can do the course, or they can do the deep dive, or they can, just trying to reevaluate it to serve the people better and learn as my audience grows. So,
oh, I love this. So I'm going to interrupt you and I'm going to make an assumption. My assumption is the reason you're asking the question and wanting to shift is you don't feel like you have a large enough audience that knows you to serve your current funnel. Is that true?
Totally true. Brand new, an audience. Yeah.
Brand new audience. Okay. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I was a bawling mess yesterday because I had a client who had a non-existent following who since February has made her first $6,000. So audience size is actually not the predictor of whether your message gets out there. It is not audience size, which doesn't that make you want to breathe like a sigh of happiness or whatever? Audience size is not the indicator. There are two other things that are the indicator, and here's the direction I'm going to need from you. Okay, the number one thing that people buy is they buy an actual result that can be measured. So, what is your result?
So this program has 5 pillars that I want to do.
Okay.
A better relationship with your past, a better relationship with yourself, a better relationship with God, a better relationship with your future, and a better relationship with your community, with your relationship.
And those 5 pillars are called Go Bigger, or is that the name of, or is that the course, what the course teaches?
The course, it's like a discord to harmony, like we unintentionally sow discord, but I want to teach them how to sow harmony instead of discord. So I'm calling it the 5 victories.
Cool.
The discord to harmony program. So that's another, it's still up in the air. I was thinking my founders group could help me figure out the name even. I don't know. So
this is such a good question. And I want to make sure that we nail down these 2 things, because the 2 things people buy is they buy a result and they buy a unique methodology. They buy a framework, right? And so just like you buy APM, that would give you the result of less work hours and more income and more freedom, your people are going to want to buy the harmony method or the 5 victories. Like they are purchasing a unique methodology. They do not purchase, I want to feel more grateful. They don't purchase gratitude. They purchase a method, or they purchase something proprietary to what you've created. So you've already got that done, which is great. And it's the meanest question ever that I could ask you to say, hey, Ashley, what's the result you could measure in your business because you're a coach? That is the meanest question to ask a coach, because it's like, I sell fulfillment, or I sell empowerment, or I sell peace, or I sell harmony, or I sell these things. And as a coach, you're like, those are really important things. And I agree with you. And it puts a coach in a really tricky situation where they say, I don't know how to say what the result is that I offer. And luckily there is a backdoor way that we can actually start to define what your real result is that you offer people. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
What is it? I'm dying.
What is it? Good. Let's talk about it. Okay. So I want to break this call, and because we are so live, you'll have to excuse the uneloquence of it for a hot second, but I want to break this call into a couple of sections. Number one, I want to teach you how to successfully run a founders group. Okay. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what a founders group is, like the first time you run your program, what did I do the first time I ran APM? How do you make it successful? What are the mistakes that are made? How do we decide what to charge? All those kinds of questions. I think that's really, really important, okay? And the second part of it is, how do we define a result in a coaching program, okay? Because as much as I want peace in my life, how are you gonna measure that for me? And here's the problem with it, and I want everybody to listen to this, especially if you are struggling with what result you offer in your business. If you're selling like blankets, or pajamas, that's awesome. You know the result. You sell a better night's sleep or a cozier sleep or a warmer sleep. That's great. Coaches struggle with this, okay? And so I want to invite Ashley into this world of coaching to say, okay, our result, as much as it is peace, even if I go through and learn your 5 victories framework and I feel more peaceful, chances are I actually won't even notice or account for the fact that I feel more peaceful. And so I will actually leave a little bit disillusioned from your program. And that's like, wait, but I created change. Like you did actually create change. And so how do we actually define a result and measure it in a coaching program? Are you ready to go?
Totally ready.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so you're going to be looking at your 5 victories, and here is the easiest way for coaches, especially those who are doing founding groups or pilot groups, who are new to launching their programs. Here's how you determine what your result is. First, you guess.
Okay.
And that's a terrible answer, okay? Because you're going to try and market this to say, I'm going to try and give you XYZ, but we're not going to stick with the guess. Here's what we're going to do. When they decide to join your founders group, and we'll talk about what that founders group looks like, you will do what I call an onboarding call. Okay. And it's like 15 minutes. You can either have a team member do it. If you don't want to do it, you're not sure, they'll be honest with you. But you will do some sort of like 10 to 15 minute onboarding call with that incoming member to your founders group. And you ask questions like, where are you most stuck when it comes to feeling peace? So you're taking a guess that they want peace in their life or they want fulfillment. What do you think is stopping you? And they'll say something like, well, I've got an unhealthy addiction to my phone, or I really don't sleep well, and I know that gets in the way, or I struggle from mental illness, or they'll start to give you all these reasons. And then you'll dig a little bit deeper and you'll say, if you could really get your sleep under control, how would that impact your marriage? If you were to get your sleep under control, how would that affect your self-confidence? How would that affect your mothering, if your people are mothers, whoever that ideal client's, right, Raj? So with that in mind, you're going to kind of build off of what they say. And then this is when you get the result, okay? You ask this question, you pivot and you say, let's say in 12 weeks, you were to tell me, oh my gosh, Ashley, the 5 victories method changed my life. Tell me how your life would have changed. What would success look like to you? And all of a sudden they'll start saying that I actually don't have a desire to pick up my phone, or I'm sleeping 7 or more hours a night, or I've decided I've taken up a new hobby instead of overeating, or I have done this with wellness, or whatever it is. So all of a sudden they are telling you what is measurable. And as you go through that founders process, guess what you do? You map with them. How is the sleep improving? And all of a sudden, is anybody like heart racing? My heart is racing. Because this is the cool part of this method, is when you onboard them, they actually define what is measurable for themselves. And then at the end of the 12 weeks, you've mapped them and they're like, oh my gosh, Ashley changed my life. Mm-hmm. And here are the ways she changed my life, because they set the standard for what the result is.
So you're talking individually. They each set
individual
their standard. Mm-hmm. I love it.
Okay, so what is coming to your brain before we then dive into what do we actually do with a founders group? But what's coming into your brain as far as onboarding them, getting them to measure it? What are you hearing for yourself?
I'm hearing that I need to be checking in with my people. It needs to be about the person, the individuals, and communicating with them through the process. And I think I've heard that that's a big transition from going from a therapist to a coaching program, is we don't have that one-on-one time with them like we would as a therapist, which it's hard for both of us because it's not so much change in the relationship, but there still can be that if I'm attentive, if I'm paying attention, to the members and providing ways for them to engage on that level.
Oh, I love that. I mean, and I really extract two things from that, right? I always say I'm not a coach, I'm a professional extractor, but it's not as sexy sounding. So that's really what I am.
More sexy.
Well, there you go. So the two things that stand out to me is you said, I struggle because as a therapist, the one-on-one is magic. It is absolute magic. And as a coach myself and an extractor, it is magic, right? And I wonder if you could reframe your barriers with working with a group to look at everything that you can possibly do to empower them, that they are the decision maker, they are the clarity person, they learn to trust themselves, they all those things that therapy is meant to. Okay, go, you talk.
Yeah, that's what I should be doing as a therapist too, is like, they're not supposed to need me anymore by the time we're done, right? And so if we're doing that all through the process of giving it back to them, like making them in charge of their progress and tracking their progress, that's huge.
You're absolutely transforming lives in that process.
Yeah.
On a scalable method that protects your own time with your family as well. Like that's a win-win to me, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's shift here for the last half of this call to talk about what an existing founding group that is successful actually looks like. And I'm going to put you on the spot here, as if I haven't already. I'm going to put you on the spot here to say, what have you already brainstormed, prepared, advertised? Like, what does it currently look like? Or are we at ground zero? Talk to me.
I've done a ton of brainstorming, and
Good.
That's about it. So I don't know if you want, like, there will be a workbook, there will be coaching calls, there will be a Facebook group. Yeah, I'm not sure what else you're wondering about.
Okay. All right. So here's where I get to put you on the spot, because my job is to shortcut your success, right? We want to shrink time. We want this to be as successful as possible. So I want you to think ahead to when you actually are in a position to sell this. Okay. And there is this term I sort of hate in business. I'm going to use it anyway because it's very descriptive. And it's called an offer stack, right? And this is when you do like a free training, or you do a Keith Morrison sequence. Since you're in APM, if you're not in APM, go take it. You'll know what that means. But as you're going through your Keith Morrison sequence and you're bringing them on board as a paid customer to your business, one of the things that we do is we pitch, right? Another kind of like word, like we have to sell the thing. You're all here because you have to sell the thing. And as part of that pitch, instead of saying, okay, I am selling a workbook and I am selling coaching calls and I am selling a Facebook group, those are all hugely valuable things, effective things in a founding call. What you want to directly connect them to is what kind of, like, why is it necessary? Okay. Why is it necessary? So like, and I'll totally expose my own business. When I sell APM, when I talk about the workbook, I don't really talk about the workbook. I talk about the fact that they need to map out an entire business plan so that when they're done with the class, they can actually flip back and say, oh yeah, that was that idea. And that they can go back and save time. So it's actually a time saver, and it's a brain dump, and it becomes their business Bible. That's kind of what it provides there. And then when I pitch the fact that I do Q&As every other week, I won't say, yeah, this is so cool, we're gonna do Q&As and here's what time it's at and you can post ahead and all this kind of stuff. Instead, I say, you most likely are gonna sit there and need help connecting the dots. And because of that, here's how we're solving that for you. So when you look at, and the reason I say that is because you don't wanna just do it because everybody's doing it. I'm not just gonna give a workbook because everybody's doing it. So you talk to me through the workbook, talk to me about the necessity of the coaching calls in the Facebook group. Are they necessary?
Absolutely, because they have to do their own work, and they have to spend the time thinking through the process. They have to spend some time identifying what the problems are, and there will be do people hate the word homework? There will be homework
Who
that
knows?
they can refer back to see, yeah, the process is in the group calls. In That's to help them see where their blind spots are, to see, look at things in a new way, to help talk them through their solutions. And the workbook is almost the prep for those calls, and that's the follow-up with those calls. And the Facebook group is so that they don't feel alone in the process. They have a community to be working with through the whole transformation process. They can share their victories. They can share their sticky points. They can grow together. And was there another part that? And there will also be some videos, some teaching videos available for them to be learning. I call it a backpack, and it has these six concepts that are foundational to their change. So, and that's necessary as the foundation to understand how to apply those things to everything that comes up for their lives. They always have to go back to what's in their backpack. What tools can they use?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so all of a sudden, when I know I am forging a backpack that is like going to help me in a year, I don't care what you're going to charge. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, this is lifelong. This isn't like just for me to get through this one issue. All of a sudden, the value, it's not a workbook, it's not a coaching call, it's a Facebook group. I'm actually learning a massively transformative life skill. And these happen to be the ways in which you're going to bring me there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Okay. So now that we have a foundation, and for those of you who are coaches and you were like, that's really cool that she kind of already knows what her coaching group is going to look like, because we're going to talk about how it's going to function here in a minute. If you are stuck watching this hot seat and you want to know ideas on like how to make it happen, here's the question I would ask yourself. I would ask yourself to go crazy and get crazy creative and say, if you had $1 million to spend on the production of this coaching group, what would it look like? Would you fly them to Paris? Would you go visit them individually? Would you send them all t-shirts? Would you, send them on a date night because you're a marriage counselor? Like, what would you do? Like, go crazy on what it looks like. Okay. And then go back to reality a little bit, right? It's just part of the like brainstorm process. And then start to match things up with results that they need, like necessities, must-haves that they need in order to reach the results that you have promised you could help them reach. And that will help you really narrow in and decide, oh, I actually don't need a Facebook group, or yeah, the workbook isn't a big deal, or oh my gosh, I need to like go way, way bigger on like, they actually need 4 notebooks, right? And it'll just help you start to evolve that. So I appreciate your honesty, Ashley, for diving into that. Okay, so here is how we rock and roll when it comes to piloting a group coaching program. There are a couple of sins that are committed when we do a pilot group. We do 2 things. Number 1, we overcharge. And oh my heck, those words coming out of my mouth is really, really rare. Okay, this is not the time to charge high dollar, because you, as brilliant as you are as a therapist, as passionate as you are as a therapist, I can feel it from you on the other side of the world right now. I know you're feeling that. You still have to establish proof of concept.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, can we all like accept that in the room? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So because of that, we want there to be a financial entry, because money is really an exchange of commitment in the world of coaching. So we need them to pay us a dollar amount. We'll talk about that in just a minute to enter it, but we are not going to charge at the $1,000, $10,000, $20,000 level. We're just not going to do it because we are there to establish. Okay. So the other sin that is committed, number 1, that we overcharge. And then the second is we distance ourselves. So we get so nervous that like it's going to suck the life out of us. And we want to establish ourselves as the expert, and we want to make them do the work, and we want to do all those things. All of it goes out the window with the pilot program. Okay. All of it goes out the window. You are as available as humanly possible. I don't care if you give them your number and you have them text you. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you do a Voxer group. I don't care how you accomplish that, but you are there to over deliver and live their lives every single day until your coaching program is done. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready for the third sin?
Can I ask a follow-up question on that?
Yes.
So if I do that with this group the first time through and they stick with me and I don't sustain that level of devotion.
Such a good question.
What? Then what? Do I just set expectations? Like, yeah, go ahead.
That's such a good question, because you're saying, what if they tell their friend to do it and then I'm only available once a week instead of 7 days a week like I used to be? And am I minimizing expectations? So the reality is that the expectations actually become the selling point. So when you are inviting people to take a chance on your pilot program, you tell them this is as involved as you will ever be. And you say, look, I charge $400 an hour as a therapist. And guess what? You're going to get in here for $297 or $197. You're going to be with me for 12 weeks, which is insanely low, right? Insanely low. But that they are doing you a favor in the sense that they're giving something a chance. They're committing to be there. They're committing to being tracked and using them as examples for what you're providing. But you're really honest with them that this is exclusive. This experience is exclusive. Okay.
Thank you.
Set it ahead. It's such a good question. And I'm sure many other people were thinking that. So we want to be highly available. We want to undercharge. You guys, this is like against everything I teach. Isn't this so funny? It's like highly available, charge really low. Okay. And then the last part is, and I hope this doesn't make anybody die that is watching, is that we do not want to prepare all the content ahead of time. Okay. This is probably not a secret to you. But when I first created APM, we did all of it in 47 days. Okay. So we piloted it. I didn't want to wait 6 months, right? We did it all in 47 days. It was a video per day. So it literally was like, I was maybe 2 or 3 days ahead of my people filming videos. That's probably why in some of the videos, I'm like in my robe and my hair is wet. Let's be honest. Okay. Because it was an insane 47 days. However, if I had not done it that way, that course never would have served people. It would have been out of order. I never even taught the value ladder as part of the course. I didn't even do an entire month on traffic until I realized at the end, they were like, wait, what am I even doing? Like, they transformed that course because I was literally 2 days ahead. So how much of your course have you produced, or are you in a pretty good space?
A pretty good space to do it with them. Yeah, I'm in a pretty good space for that. You told me in a Q&A, those Q&As are so valuable that I should wait to do it with them. And so I haven't done much. I am going to do the backpack videos, but yeah, those might change after meeting with the group and getting their feedback. So yeah, we're starting from zero.
Starting from zero. Okay, so let's talk about that. So we have established a couple of things. Number one, and I'm just reviewing for everybody here, people purchase a unique methodology and a result. We've also covered how do we help them define their own result in the world of coaching, okay? And then we have talked about how to actually run the Facebook group. Ballpark of what to charge for a 12-week program, $197, $297, lower end of a coaching experience, and that actually becomes a sense of urgency that I'm really doing this once and you're invited and it's a group of 10 and here's what it looks like. And then we have established like how to make sure that the offer that you've created, the coaching program, has necessary things and not unnecessary things, so it doesn't drain you. And then how we don't produce it ahead of time. We've done all of that stuff. So here's the question is, how do you get people into the group? What is your plan to get people to be part of your first founders launch of the 5 victories or the Harmony method? How's it going to happen?
So you threw out the number 10, and what would you cap it at? Like 50?
I would not cap it. I wouldn't cap it.
Okay. So I'm taking your post every day challenge and
Good.
starting to post every single day on different platforms. I have the content machine. I'm
Great.
going to start a podcast, and I want to do that founders group in September. So I want to work through the summer to just collect some individuals who want to try it out with me. And so, yeah, just starting to talk about it, starting to throw it out there that this is happening. And what other tips do you have for me?
This is so good. And what I love, everybody, is that there's nothing worse than going into a launch in 2 weeks and being like, I either don't have an audience or my audience hasn't changed since my last launch. That's like, but like make everybody hyperventilate. So you have time. You have time on your side before September when you hope to launch this. And so you're going to be using that as just traffic, lead generation, lead generation, lead generation. Okay. I have found time and time and time again, and nobody wants to hear this, but we're going to say it anyway, is that the people that end up joining your pilot group are most likely going to be personally invited by you. And that simply means a Facebook message, or that means an email, or that means through a DM. It will rarely come organically. Organically comes later, right? When it's like, oh, okay, I've watched her for a year, and okay, I had a friend that took it, and okay, like that's how normal traffic happens. But when it comes to pilot traffic, you will attract people that have been with you from now until September, and that have hit your inbox a little and have responded and asked you questions. And those are going to be the people that you can personally invite. And you can say, for example, let's say somebody writes to you back in June, and you know, hey, in about 6 weeks, I'm going to be launching this. Maybe a few weeks before the launch, you say, hey, Cassie, checking in with you. I remember you telling me that you really, really needed help with XYZ. How is that going for you? Right? Let her answer and say, oh, it sounds like it is still a major struggle. I just want to make sure that you saw this. I think you'd be a great fit. Let me know if you have any questions. Walk away. Okay. It's not spammy. They've already reached out to you. You're following up with specific content. Do not copy and paste. That's the kind of way that we want to operate. And I will give you a huge rah moment. When I first offered APM, if my memory serves me correctly, the first time it was offered, I had 7 people total. And when I looked at what happened when I hit my first 6 figures, it was built upon those 7 people.
Wow.
7.
Wow.
You don't need 50. You need like 5.
Yeah.
5 really loyal ones. So don't be overly concerned with, I have to hit 50 or I didn't hit my goal, or I even have to hit 10 or I didn't hit my goal. Just know that when you serve them and produce results for them, it can take like 7 or 5 or 6. Like those kinds of numbers matter.
Okay. That's so helpful. That is just incredibly helpful to see that vision. And I love that you can build something with 7 people.
7 people. 7 people. If you take really great care of them, sky's the limit, really.
Sky's the limit when we include the Lord.
Amen. Amen. When you are passionate and you feel called, you get a little bit less fearful, right? We become way more fearless when we know that we are on his errand in a lot of ways. So you guys, this has been our first official hot seat. Like, where did the 31 minutes go? I have no idea. But I'm so thrilled. And so can I just turn the time over to you, Ashley? What are you walking away with? Give me about a 30-second version and we will end the call.
Oh, so much. I cannot do it in 30 seconds, but just being there for people on an individual basis and how that can snowball hugely. And yeah, talking about results and talking about why we include things in our program. I love that. I love all of those pieces so much. And I just really appreciate your time so much.
This has been an absolute blast. I dare say we've got to do this again. We are going to do more hot seats. We're going to dive deeper into Ashley's business and your business, those of you who are watching or listening. Super grateful that we've had you here. We will see everybody again next week for our next training. Look for that event to pop up in the V2 Marketing Facebook. And thanks again so much for being here. Thanks for being part of Victress Global. If learning to be brilliant at marketing, a 12-hour work week, Fridays off, a commitment to family, faith, and business is what you're aiming for, I'd like to personally invite you to meet other V2 marketers just like you. Search for V2 Marketing on Facebook and join us for live trainings every single week. As always, if you love what you learned here, share it. This podcast is possible because of awesome entrepreneurs like you.